A friend of ours sent me a question today, and it's actually four questions in one, and it's the questions that we get asked the most. So I thought I'd do a video about it and answer her questions, and also they might help you as well. So the question actually has four parts to it. One of them is concern about the prices of real estate just going up and up. They seem like they're just out of control, so I'm going to answer that. Also, what's going on with the economy right now, and how does that affect real estate? Concerns about paying more than the property's worth. How do you avoid that? And then finally, if there were a crash or a bubble burst, what about being upside down on your mortgage? So I'm going to answer all those for you right now. So first of all, we'll talk about the prices being higher. And I did some math here, so I got to consult my notes. So between 2012 and 2022 was kind of, right with COVID and everything was going crazy. There was a 191% increase in the value of real estate. Now that's a national figure, but I know here in Florida, it was at least that. Right now, as of this minute, it's 1% growth here in the area that we serve here in Florida. So the market's a little bit slow right now. But over the last 10 years, it's been an average of 11% per year increase. So let me give you a couple of examples. So considering the last 10 years, average 11%, and we're going to use a $130,000 house 10 years ago as our example, because that was about a median price house 10 years ago. So $130,000 house. Fast forward 10 years to today, that would be $379,500 for that same house. Now, even if we go really, really conservative, some people, if you go back, like way back, let's go super conservative with a 5% increase per year, which is super low. That $130,000 house 10 years ago, today, it would be $211,756. So even at the most conservative of numbers, in 10 years' time, that property has just about doubled. And that was one of the concerns that our friends had was, it seems like in the past 10 years, properties doubled. Well, yes, it has. And it's going to continue to as well, because real estate always goes up over time. Now, that brings us to the economy. What's going on with the economy? How's that affecting the real estate market? Well, here's the thing. You got to think long term with real estate. Real estate is not like stocks where you buy and sell them and everything happens fast. Everything happens slowly in real estate. So, yeah, there's a lot of economic uncertainty at the moment. The news is not helping matters by catastrophizing everything. And the market's a little bit slow right now. And that's why, as of this moment, when I'm recording this, we've got 1% growth. And that's down from the about 10% that we had this time last year. So it goes up and down all the time. There's, of course, little micro markets for real estate. Real estate is hyper local. So here in this neighborhood, we might have a different rate than the next neighborhood over. It's just the way it works. It's all about the location, the condition, and the price of the property. So the economy affects real estate, but not as much as you think. Because like I said, everything in real estate happens slowly. And like one of my mentors says that, stocks and bonds, they move at the speed of electrons. Real estate moves at the speed of paper. And that's really, really true. But that brings us to the third part of this question. How do you know that you're not paying more than the property's worth? That's where you have to have a very competent buyer's agent. One that can give you some good data and do some really deep research on what that property's actually worth. Then you can come up with a strategy of what to offer so that you can win that property. Now, here's where the safeguard is. If you have a mortgage, or even if you're paying cash, you can get an appraisal. The appraiser is kind of like the referee in real estate. And they take a look at the property, and they're kind of the final word on the value of the property. So if you've got a lender that's a safeguard for them and for you to make sure that you're not going to be paying more than the property is worth. If it doesn't appraise, well, I'm going to have to go back and have a conversation with the seller, and that's just the way it is. Now, the last part of this question, I saved this for last because it's the most important. What if there's a crash and I'm upside down on my mortgage? Everybody, they remember 2008-ish where there was a real estate market crash. It was part of an overall financial market crash. And in some areas, like here in the area we serve in Florida, some properties were half their value. But here's the thing, it came right back up. It didn't take that long for properties to come back to their original value. Because like I said, real estate always goes up over time. You only lose money if you sell it while it's in a downturn. Now, as far as crashes go, there's no crash on the horizon. The conditions for it do not exist. After 2008, we had the Dodd-Frank Act, which totally overhauled the way mortgages work, and that is intended to prevent that from ever happening again. And on top of that, Americans have record levels of equity in their property, and because of that, we've got record levels of low foreclosure rates. So all these things are very positive for homeowners. Even if you have some temporary downturns, like we're in one right here at this moment. Here in our area, let's see, I wrote it down here. Yeah, property values are down 2.5%. And, it's a small amount when you go percentage-wise, but it's a lot of dollars. It has little ups and downs all the time. The real estate market is never a straight line, but it always goes up over time. So unless you're planning on flipping that house, if it's something you're going to live in, you're fine. It doesn't really matter where the market is when you buy, because over time, you're going to gain equity. And that's really the great thing about real estate, is that real estate builds wealth over time. Real estate is a long game. So let me give you an example. The house that we live in right now, I think it's 12 years ago, somewhere around there, we bought this house for just a little bit over $200,000. 6 months ago, this house was worth a little over $700,000. So that's a pretty substantial increase. But this month, it's a little over $600,000. So, there's a little dip in the graph. Are we freaking out? No. It doesn't matter. We're still way over what we paid for it. So if some kind of circumstances changed here and we had to move, we're still in great shape because real estate always goes up over time. All the great fortunes have been made, at least in large part, with real estate. So real estate's always a good investment. You're always going to gain equity over time. Now, I will say this. If you buy a house and you sell it in less than 2 years, you may just break even barely. If you stay longer than 2 years, you are gaining equity, and that's going to keep going. The average person right now stays in a house between 10 and 12 years. So if you're renting, there's a lot of good reasons to rent, but it doesn't build wealth like owning real estate does. So if you're planning on staying somewhere for a little while, real estate's a good bet. So ask me your questions. We'll tell you anything you want to know. This is something that's very important, and it's important to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're not going to get on the road to wealth. So let us help you make a plan. No strings attached. We really want to help people. We want to see people win. So humans over houses is our motto, and we live that way. That's how we do business. And again, you can ask us anything. We're happy to put you in touch with the right people. We're happy to help you make a plan. So thank you for watching. Ask me the questions, and I'll look forward to answering them. Bye-bye.